Today we are making a patch pocket. I found this pattern in the back of the book, and the instructions are on page 196 of the 6th edition. Maybe a little different if you have the 7th edition. So I've just copied, this was just an 8x8 square, and then I've copied this from the book. It's a pocket pattern and it has a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I just went ahead and drew in my seam. The first thing you're going to want to do is fold this top edge over. You're going to fold wrong sides together, and you're just going to fold it down 1/4 inch and make a little line of stitching. Okay, so I've folded down the top edge 1/4 inch, wrong sides together, and then I stitched across that. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to fold this right sides together, and I'm just going to fold, I want my fold line to be right at the top. So those two little notches on the pattern, that's where you're folding to. Now, I want to go over to the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch this right at my 1/4 inch seam line. Let me zoom in a little so you can see that. So there's my 1/4 inch line. And I'm going to start here, and I'm actually going to keep going and just sew at 1/4 inch all the way around this pocket. Okay, so as you can see, I've stitched 1/4 inch in all the way around the pocket. There's the right side of the pocket. Now, grab your scissors. I'm going to clip the corners. And also, move this out of the way. I just want to clip in towards my seam line, just around the curved edge on that pocket. This is really going to help me when I go to fold those edges in. So now I'm just going to flip the corners of those pockets to the outside. Make sure you get in there and really point those corners out. All right, now I want to fold the sides in, and I want to be able, here, let me zoom in a little. I want my line of stitching just to be visible on the back of this. So I'm just going to fold just to my seam line and press. Press those curved edges so you get like a nice curve on the corner there. You want your seam to show on the front. I always tell my students, when you're sewing, you should be using your iron more than you use your sewing machine. Iron is probably one of the most important pieces of equipment that you will own. And you will use it all the time in sewing. If you're not using your iron, you're probably not getting the results that you'd like. Once you get that all pressed, be sure and check it on the front. Make sure you don't have any little peaks of seam coming through. First thing you're going to do is you want to stitch that flap down. So when you put your hand in the pocket, this doesn't come flying up. Okay? So we'll stitch that down and then we'll stitch this to our fabric. Okay, so once I've stitched across my flap, now I'm ready to sew this onto my garment. So I'm going to throw a couple of pins in there. And when I stitch, I like to sew a little triangle at the corner because these corners are really the stress points of your pocket, and you want to get those on there nice and tight. So I will show you what I mean in just a second. Okay, I'm ready to sew my pocket on. And I usually start in the corner. Let me zoom in. So I'll start here. I'll go out a couple of stitches, over, and then back down. I get to the end, over probably just one stitch here since it's such a small pocket. And then back down. I'll just do a couple of back flaps. Oops. There you have it, patch pocket.